You know what terrifies me more than anything else in my operating room? It's not the complexity of the surgery. It's not the emergency cases that come in at midnight. It's the preventable ones. The hearts I have to repair because of something that happened in the bedroom. Not what you're thinking. I'm talking about the hours between dinner and dawn. The invisible window when your heart is most vulnerable, and most people have absolutely no idea what they're doing to it. I'm Dr. James Whitemore, and I've been a cardiovascular surgeon for nearly 23 years. I've performed over 4,000 open heart procedures. I've seen patterns that repeat themselves so consistently, so predictably, that I can almost tell you what someone's evening routine looked like just by looking at the damage inside their chest cavity. And what breaks my heart, literally and figuratively, is that most of this damage didn't have to happen. The patients had no warning. They thought they were just living normal lives, having normal evenings, doing what everyone else does. But after 60, normal can be fatal. And tonight, I'm going to walk you through 5 evening habits that are silently destroying hearts while people sleep. These aren't dramatic lifestyle changes. They're quiet, ordinary decisions that millions of people make every single night without realizing they're setting themselves up for disaster. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what those habits are, why they're so dangerous, and most importantly, what to do about them starting tonight. Because what you do in the 3 hours before you close your eyes might be the difference between waking up tomorrow and not waking up at all. Here's something that will change how you think about sleep. Your heart doesn't rest when you do, it shifts into a different operating mode. In a younger, healthier body, nighttime brings a protective decline in blood pressure, typically dropping 10 to 20% below daytime levels. Your pulse slows down, your arterial walls relax. It's like the cardiovascular system going into maintenance mode, running essential repairs while the rest of you recovers from the day. But after 60, that protective mechanism starts breaking down. The blood vessels lose elasticity. The pressure regulation becomes erratic. Hormonal signals that used to guard your heart during sleep begin to fade, and suddenly, the safety margin you've relied on your entire life starts shrinking. During the day, your body has redundancies built in. It can adapt to stress. It can compensate for mistakes. But at night, many of those backup systems go offline. Your cardiovascular system is running on minimal staffing, and that's when the real danger begins. This is why the hours between midnight and 6 in the morning are statistically the deadliest for people over 60. More heart attacks, more strokes, more sudden cardiac events, not during the stressful workday, not during exercise, during the quiet hours when you're supposed to be safe. And here's what most people never realize. What happens during those dangerous hours is almost entirely determined by the choices you made before bed, the food you ate, the pills you took, the water you drank or didn't drink, the temperature of your room, small decisions with enormous consequences. Let me start with the one that catches almost everyone off guard. Think about what you had for dinner last night. More importantly, think about when you had it. I ask every single patient this question during their recovery, and the answers are remarkably consistent. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, sometimes 10 at night, a full meal, steak, potatoes, pasta, bread, maybe something fried, then straight to the couch, maybe some television, then bed within 90 minutes. I get it. Life is busy. Families have schedules. You've been eating dinner late your whole life and nothing bad has happened. But here's what's actually happening inside your body that you can't feel. When you consume a large meal, your digestive system becomes the most demanding customer your heart has. Blood flow to your stomach and intestines increases dramatically. Your heart rate climbs. Blood pressure spikes. Triglycerides, the fats circulating in your bloodstream, surge to dangerous levels within 2 to 4 hours after eating. Now imagine layering that on top of sleep. Your body is expecting the evening to be a wind-down period, a time of reduced demand. Instead, your cardiovascular system is in full emergency mode, pumping blood furiously to digest food while simultaneously trying to transition into nighttime recovery. Those two demands are fighting each other. And in a person over 60 whose arteries are already stiffening, whose vessels are already narrowing, that conflict can be catastrophic. Research consistently demonstrates that eating within 3 hours of sleep elevates nighttime blood pressure significantly, increases the risk of acid reflux, which can trigger cardiac symptoms, and dramatically raises the likelihood of cardiovascular events during sleep. The solution is simple but requires discipline. Eat your main meal by 6 or 7 in the evening. If you need something later, keep it light. Protein and vegetables, not heavy carbohydrates, not fried foods. Give your heart the quiet evening it needs to prepare for the night ahead. Now, this next one is where I see the most preventable damage in my practice, and it's something most doctors don't take enough time to explain properly. If you're over 60 and you take medication for high blood pressure, and statistically more than 60% of people in that age group do, when you take that medication matters just as much as whether you take it at all. Most people assume blood pressure follows a simple pattern: high during the day, low at night. But in a significant percentage of people over 60, especially those with existing hypertension, that nighttime drop doesn't happen. Their blood pressure stays elevated through the night, or worse, it surges during the early morning hours. This is called nocturnal hypertension, and most people have never heard the term, but it kills. Here's why it's so dangerous. During sleep, your arterial walls aren't braced for impact. They're relaxed, vulnerable. A blood pressure spike at 3 in the morning hits those walls very differently than one at 3 in the afternoon. It's more likely to rupture unstable plaque inside a coronary artery, more likely to trigger clot formation, more likely to cause the kind of catastrophic event that brings someone to my operating table. If you take your blood pressure medication only in the morning, its protective effect may be wearing off by the time you need it most. If you skip it entirely, you're leaving yourself completely exposed during the most dangerous hours of the night. What you need to do is have a specific conversation with your doctor about timing. Ask explicitly whether your medication should be taken at night instead of in the morning. There's strong clinical evidence, including major trials like the Hygia chronotherapy study, showing that evening dosing of blood pressure medication significantly reduces cardiovascular risk during sleep. That's not a minor optimization, that's potentially life-saving, and most patients over 60 have never once discussed it with their physician. The conversation takes 3 minutes. It could add years to your life. Let me ask you something. Do you snore? Does your partner snore? Most people treat snoring like a joke, an annoyance, something to complain about at dinner parties. I treat it as a medical emergency until proven otherwise, and I mean that with complete seriousness. Sleep apnea is one of the most overlooked killers I encounter in patients over 60. It's estimated that more than 30% of older adults have it, and the overwhelming majority have never been diagnosed. They have no idea what it's doing to their heart every single night. Here's what actually happens during an apnea episode. You stop breathing, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 40 seconds, sometimes longer. Your oxygen levels plummet. Your brain detects a life-threatening situation and floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate spikes, blood pressure surges. Your heart essentially jolts awake while the rest of you remains asleep. And this happens 30, 40, 50 times per night. Night after night, year after year. The cardiovascular consequences are devastating. Sleep apnea triples your risk of heart attack. It dramatically increases your risk of atrial fibrillation, an irregular heart rhythm that itself raises stroke risk by 5 times. It accelerates arterial stiffening and plaque buildup. And because you're asleep when it happens, you often have no idea until something catastrophic occurs. The warning signs aren't always obvious. Yes, loud snoring is one, but watch for other clues. Waking up with headaches, feeling exhausted despite sleeping 8 hours, frequent nighttime urination, waking up gasping or with a dry mouth. If any of those sound familiar, you need a sleep study. If you're over 60, you snore heavily, and you have any history of heart disease, getting evaluated for sleep apnea is not optional. It's essential cardiac care. The treatment, usually a CPAP device, isn't glamorous, but the data is overwhelming. Patients who use CPAP consistently show measurable reductions in blood pressure, lower rates of dangerous heart rhythms, and significantly reduced cardiac risk. One device, one habit, enormous protection. Here's one that sounds almost too simple to matter, but it's killing people quietly every night. Many people over 60 deliberately restrict fluids in the evening. The logic makes perfect sense. They don't want to wake up at 2 in the morning to use the bathroom. Interrupted sleep is miserable. Getting up at night increases fall risk, so they stop drinking water after 4 or 5 in the afternoon. I understand the reasoning completely, but from a cardiovascular perspective, going to bed even mildly dehydrated is dangerous. When you're dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker, more viscous. It doesn't flow as smoothly through your vessels. For a young person, that's manageable. For someone over 60 with arterial stiffness and plaque buildup, it's a very different situation. Thicker blood moves more slowly through narrowed arteries. It's more prone to clotting. And here's the timing problem most people miss. During sleep, your heart rate naturally slows. Blood circulation decreases. Now combine slow circulation with thickened blood in a body that's been lying motionless for 7 or 8 hours in arteries that are already compromised. That combination, dehydration plus slow heart rate plus immobility plus vascular disease, is exactly why strokes and heart attacks cluster in the early morning hours. The fix is genuinely simple. Drink 8 ounces of water before bed. That's all. Just enough to ensure your blood isn't thickening unnecessarily overnight. Keep another glass on your nightstand. That mild thirst you feel at 2 in the morning? Your body is asking for something your heart desperately needs. You don't have to choose between sleep and survival. Just drink the water. The last one surprises almost everyone because it seems completely unrelated to heart health. What temperature is your bedroom at night? Most people think about comfort, personal preference, but your cardiovascular system has a very specific temperature range where it functions optimally. Outside that range, your heart is working harder than it should be. If your bedroom is too warm, above about 72 degrees Fahrenheit or 22 Celsius, your body spends the entire night trying to cool itself down. Blood vessels dilate, heart rate stays elevated, you sweat more, losing fluids, which brings us right back to the dehydration problem, and critically, your sleep quality deteriorates. You spend less time in deep restorative sleep where the heart gets its best overnight recovery. On the other hand, a bedroom that's genuinely cold, below about 65 degrees or 18 Celsius, creates a different kind of stress. Cold triggers vasoconstriction. Your blood vessels tighten to preserve core body heat. Blood pressure rises. Your heart has to pump against increased resistance. For someone with existing coronary artery disease or hypertension, that nighttime pressure spike is not trivial. The optimal range is between 65 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 to 22 Celsius. That window keeps your body in thermoneutral territory, vessels relaxed, heart rate low and steady, sleep deep and restorative. One simple setting, real protection. Everything I've described might sound overwhelming, 5 different things to worry about, but when you look at them together, what you actually have is a blueprint, a simple evening routine that protects your heart during its most vulnerable hours. Here's what it looks like in practice. Between 6 and 7 in the evening, eat your main meal. Lean protein, vegetables, reasonable portions. Not a feast, not starvation, just a proper dinner at a civilized hour. At 7, take your medications and drink a glass of water. If your doctor hasn't specifically discussed the timing of your blood pressure medication with you, that's a conversation to have this week. Between 8 and 9, wind down. A gentle walk, some reading, calm conversation. Step away from bright screens. By 9, prepare your bedroom. Adjust the thermostat. Set water on the nightstand. By 10, you're in bed. And if you snore, sleep on your side instead of your back. Back sleeping dramatically worsens airway obstruction. Dinner by 7. Water and pills at 7. Calm evening until 9. Room prepared by 9. Bed by 10. On your side. That's the routine. The question isn't whether it works. The data proves it does. The question is whether you'll actually do it. Let me be completely honest with you. I have stood in operating rooms at 3 in the morning holding hearts that stopped beating because of clots that formed overnight in narrowed arteries. I have delivered devastating news to families in waiting rooms at dawn, families who had no idea anything was wrong when they said goodnight just hours earlier. And in case after case, the contributing factors weren't mysterious. Late dinner, skipped medication, dehydration, a too warm bedroom, undiagnosed sleep apnea that everyone dismissed as just snoring. These aren't exotic risk factors. They're the background noise of millions of ordinary evenings. And that background noise, accumulated night after night, year after year, becomes a cardiac event that nobody saw coming. Most of the hearts I've had to repair didn't fail because of bad luck. They failed because of bad information. Information the patient simply never had. You have it now. The question is what you do with it. Not next week. Not after your next doctor's appointment. Tonight. Which of these 5 habits do you recognize in yourself? I'm genuinely asking. Leave a comment below because I have a strong feeling at least 2 or 3 of these hit close to home. You're not alone in that. The difference is, you now know what to do about it. If this video gave you something valuable, please share it. There's someone in your life, a parent, a spouse, a friend over 60, who has never once connected their evening habits to their heart health. Send this to them. Subscribe to this channel if you want more information that could genuinely save your life. Hit the like button if this resonated with you. And take care of that heart. It's been working for you every single minute of every single night for your entire life. Give it the conditions it needs to keep going. Good night, sleep well, and start tonight.